Let me do that again then. Good morning. The Kerr County Commissioners Court will come to order. It is Monday, April the 20th, 2020, and this is a special Commissioners Court meeting. First item on the agenda is for everybody to, I'm not telling you to turn your cell phones off, but if you would, just mute them and be discreet about them. I know in these times, if it goes off, it's not going to be the worst thing, but we're trying to not disrupt the meeting. First item that we have is public input, and I know we have one person that has signed up to talk to us. So let's start with that. This is Miss Terry Hall. You may proceed.
Thank you, Judge and Commissioners. This is about the closing of the playground. It feels like it's a war on children, even in rural Texas, where we're supposed to appreciate and encourage family values and foster the healthy development of the next generation. Children have really gotten the brunt of this lockdown. Their schools are closed, church and youth group meetings shuttered, all extracurricular sports, theater, symphonies, art class, 4-H, everything's been canceled. Graduation, prom, birthday parties, special senior year activities they can never get back, all canceled. The library's closed. Now playgrounds too. Yet what's a common complaint we hear from adults about children today? Too much screen time, not enough open-ended imaginary play, not enough exercise or quality time outdoors. Now, it seems all kids are allowed to do is live in a virtual world, locked up like criminals who've done nothing wrong. And when they finally get outdoors, they have to walk in straight lines along a river path. No climbing or jumping off play equipment, learning to balance, use their arms, muscles on monkey bars. We're limiting their ability to develop gross motor skills and agility. Nothing distracts their imaginations like pretending to be a crew on a pirate ship or warriors in space or a fairy princess in her castle on the playground. My kids do that all the time. When will these restrictions stop? We're letting down this vulnerable population. Some children are in a very critical time period in their lives, a small window of time where they're developing certain skills that change very rapidly. If they miss a stage, it will be detrimental to them for the rest of their lives. Like those infants up to 3 years old, where early speech and motor skills cement their little minds and bodies for the rest of their lives, and they can't get these months back. It shouldn't be a mystery why we're seeing crime rates rise. We've taken away all the productive ways for children to learn, exercise, play, and imagine. They're punished to a one-dimensional day, logging into online classes, and all other outlets for further imagination, learning, or interaction are largely done through a computer screen, not with real face-to-face interactions with humans. Some of these habits might have never be broken. We're ruining these children, and where's the concern for them? The young, the healthy, the next generation of innovators, healthcare workers, and business owners. Trust me, my kids have already discussed abandoning future career paths that they love, for now they have to limit their futures to what government has deemed essential or not essential, so as not to face financial ruin or have your life's work destroyed by the next pandemic. Now children seem to be seen and treated as simply potential carriers of disease, therefore a scourge not to be seen or heard from in public. I was shocked to learn about the mayor of Port Isabel, who banned children under 14 from even accompanying their parent to the grocery store. Seriously, what's a single mom supposed to do with her children in order to grocery shop? Not everyone has family members or friends who can watch their kids, especially when everyone's supposed to be social distancing and not mixing with people that aren't in your own household. Parents and their children have gotten the message loud and clear. They're the problem, assumed to be asymptomatic carriers without a stitch of proof, and therefore we're being sentenced to be locked up and because of their potential risk to others. The cure is without a doubt worse than the disease, and that's to say nothing about the economic fallout that affects every family. These cumulative actions are likely to foment generational warfare that does not benefit our community cohesion or encourage the selfless care for our elderly population. Please give these kids their lives and futures back. What seems like a few weeks to you might be critical for a long period for them. That's literally become life-altering and changing their futures.
I'm sorry. Thank you, Ms. Hall. Is there Is any other public input? Okay, for those watching at home, public input, we're not allowed to respond. It is for the public's input to us alone. So we thank you for your comments, Ms. Hall. We'll all take that into consideration. Next item on the agenda is the commissioners' comments. Those of you on YouTube can't see that we have Commissioner Letts and Commissioner Moser down here at tables to exercise our proper social distancing. So let's kind of start with the voices in the background that they can't see your faces. Commissioner Moser, why don't you go first?
Well, thank you, Judge. In Precinct 2, the parks are open, okay? I think one of the doctor on national news this morning talked about the importance of physical exercise. It helps the immune system. So the only thing closed in the parks in Kerr County are the playground equipment. And that's just a close proximity issue, and we'll look at that in the near future. So that's all I have.
Good, thank you. Commissioner Letts.
Just to expand on that a little bit, beyond the parks, river crossings are open. Those that are controlled by the county and those that are controlled by the state, to my knowledge, are open. So there are people that can go out in the rivers, cool still, but that's available. The county ball fields and the city ball fields are both open with some scheduling. Scheduling at the city fields, county fields are open, but there are enforced 10 or less participants, but I've seen quite a few, presumably dads or someone with a couple of kids out at Little League field. So there are people getting activities, and I encourage people to do that, but do want to make sure people are aware that both those baseball facilities are open to the public.
Good, thank you. Commissioner Ballou.
Nothing to report.
Good. Commissioner Harris.
Well, I guess I should start out by giving a shout out to my wife. She gave me a haircut yesterday. She wanted me to be looking good for the camera, you know. Takes a lot of work. But anyway, we had a family lose a home yesterday in Ingram, so let's keep them in our prayers. Ingram Volunteer Fire Department went with the help of the Hunt and Turtle Creek and Kerrville, so I understand the whole structure was lost, so keep them in your prayers. And that's all I have.
Good. I guess I sat through two conference calls with the governor on Friday, one for the public and then one for the county judges and mayors. And I will tell you that the new executive orders are extremely encouraging. It looks like the nation is ready to try to roll out opening the economy. It appears to me that the president and the administration in Washington is relying heavily on Texas to lead the way. Texas has had the most vibrant economy and led the nation for the last decade. We started this crisis with probably the largest reserves of any state government. They're rapidly dwindling, but we started in a good place. And I'm proud that he's using us to lead the way. I'm not going to go into all the executive orders. We can cover that at a different time, but there is definitely a plan in place and a plan being developed, and hopefully by the 27th, we should have a pretty good idea what that strategic plan is going to look like. And he's put together a brain trust of people that I consider to be extremely qualified. And if I had a problem, those are the very folks that I would go to for advice myself. So with that, I'm looking forward to how this works as we go forward. So hopefully things will be better. Just as a brief matter on parks, the governor did open the state parks effective today, and with slightly different rules. His order says that anyone in a park has to wear a mask, and the social distancing is still the same, at least 6 feet, but the social gathering is down from 10 to 5. So if you're out and about in the parks or in the public like that, in the state park anyway, the governor has ordered that you wear a mask and that you have no more than 5 people gathered in any one place. So with that, I think we're ready to start the agenda. So let's go to 1.1, consider, discuss, and take appropriate action regarding the update, facility use, and other matters related to the COVID-19. Dub Thomas, you got a haircut too.
Yes, sir. Morning, Judge. Morning, Commissioners. Y'all have a good weekend.
Yes.
kind of redundant as far as my report goes, but I'll kind of run it down to you. Some of the numbers had changed. As of this morning, Kerr County, City of Kerrville, City of Ingram, EOC, or Emergency Operations Center, is still currently activated. We're operating under an increased readiness level. Annex H, the Health and Medical Annex, is still being implemented, and we're still operating in phase 3 of the pandemic plan. We're still operating full staff, but still working remotely. And the call center continues to be open for any of the citizens needing information. On the current situation, part of it I'll talk about is what Judge Kelly mentioned. On April 17th, on Friday, Governor Abbott issued an executive order to provide Texas with an outline for reopening the state for business. Basically, starting at 12:01 a.m. Friday, April 24th, retail services that are not quote-unquote essential services, but that may be provided through pickup, delivery by mail, delivery to the customer's doorstep, in strict compliance with the terms required by DSHS. And those DSHS requirements can be found at www.dshs.texas.gov/coronavirus. And as the judge mentioned, starting today, April 20th, all state parks are open for public use, but there are certain restrictions like the judge mentioned. COVID-19 continues to spread exponentially according to CDC and DSHS. Community spread is still active in Texas. And the figures from DSHS, I've got DSHS, CDC, and the World Health Organization numbers on here, but this morning, as of this morning, there were 18,923 total cases in Texas. USA had 720,630. The world had 2.2 million, a little over 2.2 million. Total deaths in Texas are 477. United States, 37,202. World deaths, 130,885. In Texas, recovered is 5,334 individuals that have recovered from the virus. I think that's an outstanding number. In Texas, USA numbers is 58,101. Over 500,000 have recovered from the world number. Total testing continues. Our total tests were 182,710. This is in Texas, by the way. Private labs were 173,643, and the public labs were 9,067. The numbers for the surrounding counties, including Kerr County: Kendall County has 14. Medina has had 15 with 2 fatalities. Llano 3, Blanco 4, Burnett 8, Kerr 4, Gillespie 1, and Bandera 4. Again, these are total numbers, not what we're currently monitoring here in Kerr County. Kerr County, to my knowledge, we have 1 individual that we are still monitoring. Well, I was notified on Saturday we were to take 1 off that list. We had 2, so I believe now we're down to 1.
That's what the DSHS report said.
Yes, sir. Region 8 numbers: active cases total 841, recovered 366, 49 deaths. Our operational priorities for the EOC continues to be public safety as the top priority. We're going to continue to provide timely and accurate information to the public concerning the spread of the virus and ways to avoid becoming infected. I'll continue to work with the City of Kerrville Emergency Management, Kerrville Fire Department, EMS, and Peterson Regional Emergency Management, and their infection control nurse for developing tactics for testing, isolation, and treatment. PPE is coming. I got several emails over the weekend about more PPE that's coming, and they're going to be making phone calls for pickup or delivery. So we'll be taking a look at that, and I don't know what the total number was, but I've got like 8 or 9 emails of PPE that requests that we put in that are being filled.
What's the demand?
The demand is very high.
What's the actual need? I mean, people are asking for something before this.
Well,
Or is anybody?
hospital, first responders.
No, I don't mean that. I mean, is somebody out of them?
No, but everyone's getting low.
Yeah, okay.
Mobile testing continues. This morning starts at 9 a.m. at the Youth Event Center. Last week, this instance, for Peterson Regional and the Outreach Clinic, they did 106 COVID-19 samples sent off for testing. 29 of those were from actual Peterson Regional Medical Center and 77 from the Outreach Clinic.
What were the results?
All were negative.
All negative.
All negative. 129 negative. Good.
106 altogether.
Okay.
Our public education and outreach. Yes, sir. Oh, okay, I thought you had a question. Peterson Regional still has the not open line for talking to a nurse. That's 896-4200, extension 1. The Kerr County EOC and the City of Kerrville EOC continues to operate the call center, which is 258-1111. It's operating Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, for individuals that have questions about canceled local events, closed offices, schools, parks, etc. Alternate means for accessing local offices is also listed in there. As of this morning, last week, there were 28 COVID-19 related calls, so the number of calls dropped about half from the week before. Kerr County and the City of Kerrville websites continue to be updated almost on a daily basis, if not every other day, for information that's coming in for the public. Established a list of recovery resources that is also listed on both the city's website as well as the county website, and the Kerrville Chamber of Commerce website also has several resources for local businesses. Again, the Small Business Administration has their economic disaster loan that provides up to $2 million in financial assistance. All they have to do is go to www.sba.gov/disaster and click on apply for assistance.
The number that jumps out to me that I would think it'd be hard for people to kind of, without it in front of them, follow along, but would you agree that it looks like only about 10% of our people here in Texas that get tested come up positive? So 9% of people being tested.
That's correct.
So that's a good, after they've gone through the screening and then still got tested, only 10% are showing positive results. So that's a good number. So.
And I'd like to share that I did have a conversation with the Medina County Mayor, County Judge. Yeah, whoops. But I talked to the Medina County Judge about his numbers, because in our area, they've got the highest numbers. Bernie's got 14, they've got 15 with 2 fatalities, and I was kind of curious about the fatalities. And he told me that one of the problems, and this goes back to everything that we're advising people or requesting people to do, is the importance of social distancing. 5 of those 15 cases come out of one family that kept having their extended family barbecues. And we're not saying not get together with your family, but keep the social distancing. We do it in my office. I met with several of you this morning. We sit completely across the room from one another to carry on our conversations. This is a time where it's good for us to maintain that social distancing. And one of the 2 deaths in Medina County was a member of that extended family, and it was an elderly gentleman with diabetes and additional underlying ailments. So it was the predicted vulnerable class. Just offering that for what it's worth.
I think what's important, Judge, is when you start looking at the numbers of the surrounding counties, they're not, the counties that are the closest to us we're not seeing a big blow up in numbers. It's creeping very slowly, or it's holding steady. So I think that's important. And the closer you get to, again, that I-35 corridor, anywhere from Laredo all the way to Dallas and east, the numbers go up dramatically, especially if you're going to Dallas or Harris County.
But what I'm looking at primarily is I-10. And the numbers in Bernie are holding pretty firm. Our numbers have been at 4 for the last 2 weeks, and we got 3 of them at home. So compliments to everybody out there for doing what needs to be done to stop this virus.
By the way, there's really good information on the Kerr County website, and our public relations director, coordinating with our emergency management coordinator, you guys have done a great job keeping the public updated. Anybody watching at home, take a look at the website.
Kudos to Bruce for being able to get all that stuff on there.
Left him off the list. IT director. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure it was coming fast and heavy.
This you're looking at the numbers of the people that get COVID-19, you know, across the U.S., it's about 5%. Around the world, it's almost 6%. But in Texas, it's about 2.5, so less than half of everywhere else. Is there any reason for that? Is it, you know, better job? Is there any? I mean, it just seems the numbers are substantially different in Texas on the fatalities that people get.
I think we're just doing a better job of social
Spread
distancing
out.
than the rest.
Yes, exactly.
Well, we can laugh about that, but that's exactly the truth.
I mean,
This is a big state, and we're not the kind of people that are on top of each other. We like our space, and it's healthy.
I like my neighbor a little better when he's a little further off.
Absolutely. Be a good, as my wife says, be a good Texas neighbor. Just wave at him. Don't talk to him over the fence.
And I brought that up, man, is that, you know, what we are doing is working.
It is.
For example of it. So, while it's been an inconvenience, we can get to that on the next agenda item a little bit, but it is working. It's just a matter as to how we get back to work and other activities by keeping these measures in place.
Well, and I echo that. This is not the time for us to get complacent. The governor says that they predict the peak in Texas to be the end of this week. That's why they're trying to get the plan in place by the 1st of next week. We've done very well here in Kerr County. I can't compliment you enough for what you've done, folks. But this is not the time to quit playing. This is fourth quarter football. We got to finish this game. We got to end this thing well. And I know it's a little buggy. I'm still wearing a mask, as you can see. Let me tell you, it's not comfortable, but I'm doing it because of my wife. If we exercise all the reasonable precautions that we can for the next week or two, hopefully we'll be past the crisis part of it. So hang in there. Thank you, Doug.
yes, sir. Y'all have a good day.
So,
Okay, the next item on the agenda, we do this one every week, is to consider, discuss, and take appropriate action regarding the local state of disaster due to a public health and economic emergency that I proclaimed back on March the 24th, and that has been extended on March the 30th. And it's extended until we decide to terminate it. So this is the opportunity to discuss, is it time to terminate?
This goes to kind of follow what the statement I just made. We can terminate or do whatever we want, but until the governor does it, nothing can change, correct?
Correct.
That's right.
So,
We are complying with the governor's executive orders.
and if we wanted to open up faster than the governor is outlining in his speech on Friday, we can't.
Until they get the strategic plan in place and they get that review committee, then we could apply to possibly do that. But in the meantime, we do exactly what he's ordered everybody in the state to do.
I thought his executive order said we can't be more stringent.
right, it did.
It doesn't say we can't be more loose, does it?
Well,
In other words, that's what it says. It says we can't be any more restrictive than what he said.
I think
But
what
it
it's-
doesn't say we can't back off.
I don't think that's what it says.
No. Okay.
I think what it says is that we,
Other way around.
County attorney's talking.
say again, Heather?
I think it's the other way around. We can't be less restrictive than the governor's order. We can be more restrictive, I believe.
No,
No,
That's not right.
no.
no,
You're
he,
wrong,
That
Heather.
would eliminate the need for the governor's order.
he suspended our emergency, the county judge and the mayor's emergency powers to the extent that they're inconsistent with his executive order. That's what it says,
So it's just
inconsistent.
Yes.
inconsistent. That's it.
But Judge,
Plus or minus.
what I'm saying is if the court decides that this executive order should not be extended, that takes away some of your ability as a county judge to do other things like, for example, something you've talked about is a curfew. There are other things that you would not be able to do if your local disaster declaration wasn't in place.
That's all true, but and I'm happy to report that we haven't needed the curfew.
Right.
People have been complying.
Okay,
But,
so
but,
it's just.
but it just leaves the emergency powers in place for the county.
Okay.
You bet. Something unforeseen comes up.
Now, is there any benefit to that in terms of any kind of financial recovery?
Let me comment on that if I may.
All right.
Okay, pass something around. There is in the rollback, okay, for taxes and tax rate, okay, if the county's declared a disaster, which we have, an emergency, same thing, then the 3.5% does not apply.
Cap, 3.5% cap.
Yeah, 3.5% cap, it does not apply. So we're not limited by that. It's when I passed around something last week on all of what the Senate Bill 2 says, but that jumped out at me when I saw that, reading all of the 3.5 and the 8% and all that kind of stuff. So we're not limited to, not saying we're going to do it.
Oh,
okay?
this would be a
Not saying we're
vote
gonna do
against.
it.
We're not going to do
Make
it.
it in
It just gives us, gives us a flexibility. That's one thing. Your question was,
Right.
did it do anything? And yes, that's one thing it did.
You're right. Did it, beyond that, is there any relaxing of applying for grants or anything? We probably don't need anything, but if we did, has it changed
I haven't seen anything on
applications
that.
for grants or anything?
I haven't noticed anything, but that's yet probably to come or something along those lines.
All of that, once this settles down, will be hashed out, I'm sure, but I'm just curious. So, thank you, Commissioner Moses.
Okay, moving on to the next item on the agenda, 1.3, consider, discuss, and take appropriate action to approve the contract and subscription amendment between the county clerk and LexisNexis. Ms. Dowdy.
Oh, yes. This is a reduced amount. It was an offer that came in last Tuesday, I believe, from LexisNexis, which allows us to search for folks we cannot find in order to pay off court fines and fees. Also, if people are claiming to be indigent, we can also look into that. So really, this amendment, also extension of the current contract, saves the county $1,200 a year. So I request the court's approval as presented.
$1,200 a year?
Is the savings, correct?
Okay. And what's the total cost?
Second page, for May through the end of April of this year, this current cycle is $122.50, and then the next cycle will be $123.75.
When does the contract expire if we don't renew this?
April, well, today is the last day I have in order to, that they will allow this, that I can submit it. It's today, but the contract expires May 30th, April 30th.
So we're a month out from the expiration of the contract?
Less than a month, May 1st, I'm sorry, what did I say?
And they want to get the prices locked in before we see what the rollout looks like on the economy,
Yeah.
which may be a bigger discount. I don't know. I mean, it's all speculation. But I would think every business is trying to get the governmental entities to lock in rates now.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other discussion?
But, I mean, question on that, I mean, we need to do the contract.
Yeah.
We
Right.
can't, I mean, the rate could change, but
You gotta have it anyway.
you gotta have it. And
Necessary.
It's on the normal renewal schedule for them. They're not doing it because of a disaster situation.
Are they going to allow us to get a holdover? I don't know.
And these are budgeted funds.
Yes.
I make a motion to approve the contract with Lexis.
I'll second.
Motion's been made by Commissioner Letts, and seconded by Commissioner Harris, to approve the extending the amendment with the LexisNexis contract. Any other discussion? Those in favor, raise your hand. 4-0. I'm going to abstain. Next item is 1.4, consider, discuss, and take appropriate action regarding Kerr County's material recycling services.
Hey, let me start this if I may, Shane. Shane and I met last Friday, and we had, the question is, the recycle trailers were not being used right now because of coronavirus. The question came up in one of the commissioners' courts about if we use dumpsters, and I think I said, let's ask that, and would it be less expensive? So we did a quick back of the envelope analysis of that. Sort of the trailers were actual costs, and Shane can talk to that, except we just assumed everybody was $20 per man hour, and that include benefits. And we looked at dumpsters using what we thought would be the right turnaround rate on dumpsters, and it looked like the price, and Shane had an update of about $100 per dumpster per week. So if you do that, it gets to be a no-brainer. It's $11,000 per year versus for trailers and $31,000 per year using dumpsters. So, we can wiggle these numbers around a little bit, but they're not going to change dramatically. So that's sort of the bottom line there. Plus, dumpsters are not available in two locations.
So this, is this price based on just 2 locations then?
No.
Or on extra
It's
charge?
assuming the dumpster's assuming that they're every place. But there's a question of whether or not they would be even service would be available at Turtle Creek or not. But we're assuming what it was gonna be, what would it cost? Okay.
And the only thing I can know, like that is also, figuring out my fuel cost. Was this the drive time for the recycle trailers? I'm probably spending probably $1,200 a year on fuel for that.
So that's another
Still,
10%.
Yeah.
Still way below. So,
I think it's good information to have.
yeah.
As we're going into the budget. But I will just point out, I'm probably the sort of the lone commissioner that hasn't been as enthusiastic about this program, even though I have voted for it. And the reason that my constituents tend not to call me a whole lot about it, but, it's not an essential service. And if we look at it, we're gonna have a tight budget. Recycling is great, it's good for the environment, but a lot of people in these trailers, it's not have to be, it doesn't encourage. So I think it's something that's, to me, when the budget comes around, we're as tight, this is something that can go.
It is, and the reason I started focusing more on this last week is I went to the recycling at the landfill, and I think I mentioned this the other day, there were about 8 dumpsters there that were totally filled. I mean, you could hardly put another can in them, and it was not full of just open boxes, they were all flattened. So people are using them, people like the recycle service, and maybe we just use the thing on Loop 534. People come to town often, they can go by there and drop it, and it doesn't cost the county anything that way. The city's covering that cost, so.
Does it cost the people to recycle there?
No.
Okay,
No.
that was the question I got last week.
Yeah.
I get lots of calls about recycling. And,
see, it is costing the people to do what we're doing.
well,
now.
exactly.
It's tax dollars.
Right,
It does.
right.
But during these times, especially, they take it out there, and
Yeah.
and everybody I've talked to has understood why we've suspended it, because all the handling and what have you, and the exposure to our employees from the materials. So everybody's understood, but they sure want it back. So good information, Shane.
And the other thing, Shane, you may want to, just as we're getting budgets getting closer, need to make sure that we're not violating any grants that we got to get these trailers. I'm not sure where we are on all that, but those trailers were provided through ACOG grants partially, and we need to make sure that we're not under some obligation. We don't want to cut a program and all of a sudden owe ACOG someone $50,000.
Yeah, we gotta buy.
If I understand it, like August or so is what it.
With the newest recycle trailer, it's, the expiration date on that is that new trailer, August of this year.
That's right. Yeah. Good.
So it's
Wait, meaning what?
Before our next budget, we will
It
have no
means-
more obligations.
No more obligation and the trailer belongs to the county?
Yes,
Okay.
so it's still within our fiscal year.
Yes.
Okay, good.
So no action, that was for information.
Okay, thank you. Next item on the agenda is 1.5, consider, discuss, and take appropriate action regarding the court order number 37352, which is regarding the compiled financial statements. Ms. Shelton, are you here? You are within the social distancing requirements and the social gathering limits.
This order was in regard to the county compiling and or auditing the ESD financial statements. The county attorney did look at this. We're asking that this order be rescinded, and they look to outside sources for their audit or compilation.
Okay, any discussion?
What, can you explain it a little better than that?
Their rules that they go in say that they must provide to the county, I believe it is, by June 1st of every year, compile financial statements if their cash is under $250,000 and or audit if it's over. So for several of the last years, we have been issuing those compiled financial statements. ESD 2, I believe it is, has already turned in their compiled
That's right.
financial statements and had it done by an outside firm. ESD 1 has not turned anything in. They've turned in stuff to the auditor's office. The cost of doing an audit would be great. There is a part of that regulation that says that we can pass on whatever costs that we have to them. As they get larger, as their cash grows, they need outside sources, which is more than what we can provide at the county level.
That explains.
So this is related to ESDs.
ESD number one
ESDs only.
specifically. And you have all their information. They have a meeting this evening. Can I get that information and take it to them?
Certainly.
Okay.
And just so the public is clear, historically, the county auditor's office has facilitated and helped the ESDs do this function. At this point, what we're asking to do is to discontinue the auditor doing that function, to let them do it themselves.
That's an emergency service district.
Right.
So this is rescinding that order which says.
Right, we have an order in place, and she came to me and wanted to know, what do we do about the order? I said, let's put it on the agenda and deal with it.
Okay.
So we would like to rescind that order.
One last thing, last year ESD 1 did have their compilation issued by an outside CPA firm.
Yes.
When that auditor position was vacant, and the previous auditor did it for them, and I think she just kind of picked it up on her own, but
It was
Tanya's
a
office
discretionary
is
service.
strapped right now. They don't have time to do it all, and I understand that.
Well, this is good. They've reached the point where they're on their own.
Right.
A little more, that's good. That's a good sign. I move for approval.
Second.
Motion's been made by Commissioner Ballou, seconded by Commissioner Harris, to approve rescinding Order 37352. Any further discussion? Those in favor, raise your hand. Unanimous, 5-0. While we have you here, let's move on to the approval agenda. 2.1, pay bills.
Invoices for today, Kerr County, $146,054.29. The airport, $31,516.34. Adult probation, $3,453.21. Juvenile probation, $10,207.26. The Plateau Water Planning, Region J, $379.35. The 198th DA forfeiture, $142.40. And the 216th DA forfeiture, $4,089.33.
Move we pay the bills as presented by the auditor.
Second.
Motion's been made by Commissioner Moser and seconded by Commissioner Ballou to pay the bills as presented. Any discussion? Those in favor, raise your hand. Unanimous, 5-0. Budget amendments.
Yes, we have one budget amendment, and this is to show the insurance proceeds that we've received from TAC from the storm damage to the, is it rainwater storage tank? Out at the youth event center.
Move for approval.
Second.
Motion's been made by Commissioner Letts, seconded by Commissioner Harris to approve accepting the insurance funds to repair the damage out of the Youth Event Center. Any further discussion?
This is 100%, right? This covers
Yeah,
everything?
well, there's a deductible.
Yeah, it was like 38, the bill was
Yeah,
38
it's
something.
$1,000 deductible
$1,000.
for our insurance. And TAC generally, I anticipate that estimate may come in a little bit low. We'll submit the actual invoice at the end, and then TAC will make up the difference if there is some. And I think we'll probably get a little bit extra. And part of that is some equipment rentals that he's probably gonna have to get that he wasn't aware of. And I told him.
That weren't in the bid?
Yeah. Yeah, it's part of it, and there's some other things possibly, there's, unknown till you get into the tank exactly what all needs to be replaced. The TAC's aware of that. But I told Kelly that she does not need to go over there and take our equipment right now to lift things off under this.
But we're just replacing the damaged ones.
Right.
Yeah, total loss.
They're not sure if some of the plumbing inside, that was unknown. They thought that was probably salvageable, but, when you start getting the repairs, you find out more. So, but anyway, it is covered by insurance except for the $1,000.
Any other discussion? Those in favor, raise your hand. Unanimous, 5-0. Late bills?
There are not any.
Okay. Court orders.
Yes, from our April 13th meeting, we have court orders 38042 through 38054, and they all look to be in order. Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion's been made by Commissioner Letts, seconded by Commissioner Ballew to approve the court orders as presented. Any further discussion? Those in favor, raise your hand. Unanimous, 5-0. Let's move on to department updates and discussion. 3.1, status reports from department heads. And I believe we have on here a report from the county auditor, Ms. Shelton.
Okay, y'all each have a chart in front of you. We've gone back and looked as of March 31st. The question last week was kind of where are we right now on the current year's budget. And so for the general fund, we have collected about 79% of our budget for the current year. Now, the majority reason for that is because property taxes are due at the end of February. And so that is the main reason why we've collected so much of the revenues. Property taxes make up about 69% of our total budget. We have, in the general fund only, we have $1.4 million left to collect. There are 2 payment plans that are offered by Kerr County. In speaking with the tax assessor collector, he expects about $500,000 to still come in based on those plans. And when the due dates, the extended due dates because of those plans. If you're looking at sales taxes, which is the second chart that you see there, we're right where we need to be right now. We've collected about 41% of our sales taxes, but that's what's so much in question right now with everything that is shut down. If you'll see the chart, we've been above the prior years, but if you'll notice in April, even though these were as of March 31st, we had already collected the payment for April. This is sales taxes based in February, so it takes a couple of months to work its way to Kerr County. And so you'll see that one is at 312, which is a decrease and is about where we were, what we received last year. So just in that one, to me, it's a little bit more with, there's still remaining about 2.8 million in general fund to collect. As far as expenditures that we're looking at, that's the bottom graph. Currently, Kerr County's doing pretty well as far as your general fund. We've only expended 43% of our expenditures. That if we had expended 50%, that's another 1.9 million. So we have not spent that to make up to the 50%. And so, as you can see, to make it easy, one thing I like about graphs, the top part are the dark blue, that's what we've already received. The bottom part, you see less blue, but that's what we've spent. And so we're low on expenditures and high on revenues at this point.
Tanya, so 70% comes from ad valorem taxes.
Yes.
So looking at the budget schedule that we have this year, which is shorter than it has been in previous years, and we get through a lot of it by July, but we don't get the sales tax revenue for about 2 months lag. So that says in July, we're only going to be up to about May's. So we ought to see a decrease in that. So we're going to have to take a small segment and extrapolate it through the entire year of what we think our revenue is going to be for sales tax, and then try to project that into what it does to us this year and what it does to us next year. So there's going to be a large extrapolation in July, and that's when we make a lot of decisions, is in July.
Yes, and just it's interesting hearing some of the different. I know I sat in a meeting with the judge last week, and there was that opinion expressed, and the opposite side of that opinion, just because it's so unknown right now. The opposite side of that opinion was somebody thought, oh no, people are going to be so tired of staying at home. As soon as it's lifted, we're all out.
We're going to have actuals though.
Exactly.
We're going to have actuals in May.
Exactly. So if once, will we have time to see a rebound? We might can squeak in,
Well, decision we'll make.
but again, you can always come back in at a later date because the revenues have increased if you need it for the budget for whatever reason, because it would be an unknown, whatever the budget was passed.
Well, and I'd like to clarify so that the people understand that we're talking about extrapolating what we think our losses are and how it's going to affect our income going forward. Where we are right now is the governor is expecting to have his rollout plan, his strategy, to us by early May, the first week in May. And we will have at least 1 month actual experience under that plan when we get to budget. So we're going to have more information than we have right now, but this is a good guesstimate as to where we may be. And just trying to get everybody educated and on the same page as we go into budget season.
And also one other thing on this, I had looked back on the last couple of years to say, okay, how do you put this in perspective? We are right where we've been in the last 2 years as far as the percent we're expended and the percent that we have in. It was really close for the last 3 years. So where we are as of March is where we've been in the past years. The coming up is where we're going to start seeing the
Right,
drop.
that's where the big change comes.
That's right.
Exactly.
But it's time for us to be vigilant and follow it closely
Right.
so we know where we are.
Good charts, thank you.
Thank you. Very good report. I don't think we have any other department reports. Let's move on to elected officials. Any elected official reports? Okay, 3.3, status reports from liaison commissioners.
I have one judge, this is kind of like wearing my HR hat. We do it sporadically, which is not good, but this is the time of year that we need to do performance reviews of department heads. And I really encourage, I don't remember, the judge told me earlier this morning he didn't recall us doing it last year.
We did not do it last year.
So, it's a 2-year period, we really need to do this. It's not fair to our department heads if they don't get feedback, and it's not fair to the taxpayers. So, I'll ask Jody to put them out. We've gone round and round over the years to how we do these. I just think it's important that we have something in the file, the actual format. The format we used last time was pretty easy.
Right. Well, I think we do have a format.
You have documents that you all have adopted probably 2 years ago for evaluations and performance plans and those things that are available to you. Jody might have a copy of them, definitely HR, and I also have copies of them too.
Very well. We'll get those put in everyone's box so they can get that done, and then sometime in May, it shouldn't take that long to get it done. We can have the executive session and go over them as reported.
Okay.
That's all the in-county stuff, in-house.
In-house stuff.
Right.
Let's do a schedule so we'll know exactly when it's going to be. So
I would say that we review them
Well, I think, we got the county attorney on the phone here remotely. Let's review the steps. My recollection was that the evaluations go out, there's a self-evaluation by the department heads.
Right,
Then they sit down with their liaison commissioners for the liaison commissioners' input.
right,
Then we come back to Commissioners Court and in executive session,
right,
it is presented to the court en banc.
right.
Uh,
So let's,
So it's going to take us probably at least 2 weeks, maybe 3, to do that.
But I remember us
Mid-May
doing the
probably.
paperwork, but not doing a discussion about it.
Well, but it never got to the whole court.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I mean, I went and sat down and did reviews and looked at people's performance, but nothing was presented. We didn't have a meeting about it. So I don't know if the rest of you did that.
what I'm suggesting is, let's have a date when we get the self-evaluation. Let's give a date when we do liaison with the department heads. And then let's have a date when we have Commissioners Court, executive session.
Okay, I'm looking at Monday dates in May.
Okay?
Mondays are the 4th, the 11th, the 18th, and the 25th. I think we'd want to have this done at least by the 18th.
I would say the court, yeah, I would agree that the executive session
For the court,
for the court should be the 18th, which is an off Monday.
that's a special commissioners court meeting, which would be the appropriate time to do it.
Right.
So let's target it for May the 18th.
Okay, then
And that
let's back up.
And so then the liaison commissioners probably need to have it done by the week before, the week of the 11th,
Right, okay,
so that we know it's all done.
okay,
Not giving you a hard and fast day,
Okay.
but a week.
right.
And then that will have everything ready to be put in our packet for the agenda for May the 18th.
Okay, and let's have self-evaluation at
Week
least a
before.
week before that.
May 4. Week of May 4, week of May 11, and then we'll meet on the 18th.
Good.
Heather, do you mind sending those forms out again just to make sure we all
Jody's got
have
them. Jody's got them.
Okay.
HR's got 'em.
Okay.
Jody,
Say that again, did Jody have them?
I'm sure she does.
we'll get them.
If Jody
Okay,
does,
I can send them if you'd like for me to. I'm sitting right in front of my computer. I can go ahead and send it to you now.
just send it to Jody.
Okay.
All good. Okay, other liaison commissioners' reports.
Not at this time. Shane was in and we talked about recycling, so I think I'm good here.
Well, let me report that the public may not have been aware, but we had targeted trying to have a Zoom meeting today where we would I would host a call, invite the commissioners and anyone else, the county clerk, county auditor, court reporter, and we would do this remotely. I've been doing that for a couple of weeks, and believe it or not, even though I'm an old dog, I have learned the new trick. It works. It works pretty well. We decided today that we would not have a trial run at your expense, public. What we're going to do is have the trial run after this meeting. But next week, expect that hopefully we will conduct this meeting remotely on Zoom. And the idea is that we have these monitors in the courtroom up on both sides, and that's where the Zoom page would be, so that you can see all 5 of us up there. I'm sure a lot of the other people will probably block out your video, but you'll keep the audio on. But we're going to try to have a Zoom meeting, so get prepared for something new. We're going to try it. Anything else? Anything for executive session? Okay, there being none, the court is adjourned.